Hey guys, welcome back to part 2 of this multi-part build series. And if you're new here, thanks for joining me on this journey as I try to find the best keyboard to be used with my trusty MacBook Pro. Thanks so much for all the comments on the first video and also over on Reddit when my friend posted my link. Thanks, Josh. So jumping straight in, right in front of us we have the Vinpok Taptek keyboard. Now this keyboard, from what I understand, is designed primarily for Mac. That's why you can see over here on the packaging you have the Mac layout. I have seen a few reviews of this keyboard on Reddit, particularly one very well written review for I think it was a Linux user. I don't think I'm gonna be using this keyboard for anything other than Mac. Now the outer packaging we have right here is just a sleeve. It just slides right out to have a completely white box. Now I guess this is very similar to an Apple product where you have this nice minimal white box that just slides up, and here we go. Sliding up, nice and smooth, and jajang. This is just the PCB. Well, this is not just the PCB. I've actually taken this keyboard apart. In the previous video, you've seen me put the keycaps on the choc switches, which we have right here. Good old choc switch. I actually took this apart just to see if anything could be done to it, how hard it was to like dismantle and put it back together, and what are we gonna be doing with the switches and if everything was working out. So I'll go more into that in this video, but over here we can see this beautiful, well, not really, but this really nice PCB. So I bought this keyboard secondhand, and the first user bought it because they had the same thought as me. They wanted a nice mechanical keyboard for the Mac, and it was not living up to their expectation. They used it once, put it back in the box, and was like, screw it, tried to get a refund, didn't get it. So he sold it to me for about, I would say, $80 US, which I think is a steal because looking at it brand new on Vinpok's website, I think it's going for about $130 US right now. That's not including shipping. So for a nice little project board, I can't speak. For a nice little project board like this, I think it's a nice little investment. Now lifting this up, I've seated the PCB back inside the case, and we'll take a look at that later. And at the bottom we have the base plate. Well, not really a base plate, but like the base of the keyboard. And you can see the little plastic is still on. The rest of the unboxing experience, of course, we have the manual with all the what's supposed to work and what button does what. Yeah, we'll put it aside. We don't need that. And that's the rest of the box. So putting the rest of the box aside, we have the base right here, and you can see there's an included battery in here. I think it's about 1800 milliamp hours, but someone correct me on that. But it's good enough because this keyboard is also Bluetooth. And before I took it apart, I actually tested out the Bluetooth. Everything worked perfectly, pressing function and 1 switches it to the first profile, function 2 switches it to the second profile, and I was jumping between my iPad and my MacBook with no issues and no connectivity loss and no latency. So jumping back into the PCB, let's first look at the case. And this is the top of the case. Nice aluminum case, very lightweight, almost no flex at all. Just a little bit because it's just a thin case, but very solid build, feels good. And there's nothing much I can say about it. It's just aluminum, you know. Now I don't know much about PCBs. I know barely anything at all about electronics. All I know is that you turn it on, and this is gonna be a brand new experience for me as I learn how to solder on a keyboard, desolder on a keyboard, putting switches together and whatnot. But it's pretty easy so far, except for a few instances which I will go into later. But so far, taking this keyboard apart has been a breeze. You can see there are some mounting holes here, 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 and here. One thing to note would be that on the bottom of the bottom plate, you used to have like rubber feet here, and those were the things that were covering up the screws. I thought that there would be another screw here, so there used to be a QC sticker over here. I thought there would be one more. Turns out there wasn't, so I was gonna remove the sticker anyway, maybe like have a nice little color finish on the bottom, but we'll get into that. So after unscrewing everything, all that's left that's connecting the base to the PCB was this little cable right here that connects to this little thing, and it just pops right in. So let me see if I can get it in there, and it's in. The switches are on top. So on the left you have switching between Mac and PC, and on the right you have this little, not sure if you can see it, it's black, but a little switch right here. There you go. Right here, the switches between cabled mode on the right, off in the middle, and Bluetooth on the left. Let's start this keyboard up and switch it all the way to the left. And you can see it's just glowing. So let's take a look at the switches for these, which would be the main point, the main attraction of this board. And these are the switches that's included. As far as I know, this is the only switch that's available on this board, and I thought that they were kailh blue switches, which does not seem to be the case because the mounting point, well, the stem is really different. So comparing it to a kailh brown right here, you can see the holes are different. The little knob coming out here is longer as well. So I don't know what's up with that. Maybe they used some other manufacturer, but here's a little sound test for those of you wondering how these clickies sound. So pretty standard clicky switch sound, but as some people have pointed out in their reviews, the switch actuates before the click. So if you take a look, not sure if it'll focus, right here, there's a little travel before the click, travel, click, bottom out. The problem with this switch is that during this travel, at the end of this travel, right before the click, the switch actually already actuates. The switch actuates during this travel, which is really weird because you can be just resting your hands on the keyboard, and the weight of your hands would actually be enough to make the switch register a key press, which is not good. Really, really not good. So what I thought to do would be to put the kailh switches that I have onto this keyboard, which brings me to another problem, and this is the experience of trying to have a nice low profile mechanical keyboard. So some of you might notice that, hey, this switch looks really similar to what we have here. That's because it is the switch off of the Vinpok Taptek. So because of the layout, this switch right here is actually the right shift, which I almost never use. So I thought, you know, if anything happens, I could sacrifice this. So I desoldered this, and that was an experience on its own. Let me just show you the solder joints. So look at these solder joints. I'm not sure if it'll focus. These do not look like quality solder joints, and I had a terrible time desoldering this keyboard. So after desoldering was done, I was faced with the second problem, and there's always a second problem. The switches, which seem to be pretty similar at first glance, are way more different than what I initially thought. See how on the choc, this pin aligns right to the middle of what's this called? The mounting stem thing? The big boy in the middle. However, on our Taptek switch, you see, this pin is aligned slightly to the left. So what I did, and I do not advise anyone to do this, do not ever do this, but hey, if you have a keyboard to throw away and you want to play and have a little project, have a little fun, sure, but don't do this. I took this pin, I turned it 90 degrees very gently, and then I flattened it down all the way until it was at the base of the switch. And then right at the tip of it, I just bent it up so that it was sticking out just a little bit. Now, again, please don't do this, but for the purposes of this experiment, to see if things will work, I did it and it fits. Ish. So before we continue to the rest of the soldering, there is another issue. The Vinpok switch, which we have over here, the mounting points for the bottom of the switch are these two little flat rectangular stubs. But our kailh chocolate boys here won't fit. Now this wasn't that much of an issue because the side pins are easy to remove and some switches actually come without them. So let me just show you. This is a kailh plum switch. And on the bottom, we actually don't have the two pins on the side. Some of you more experienced people correct me on this. I think it would be fine if it was a plate mounted design like this one is. But if it's PCB mounted, I think you might have a little bit of a problem. So all I did to make this switch fit on here, a regular old pair of nail clippers, and just clipped it off. And if you want, you can just, take the back where you have the nail file and just file it ever so slightly, and it's smooth. So as you can see, I've managed to put the brown switch on, and I've actually soldered it on to the board. This is the regular switch before I did anything, but for this one pin is sticking out and the other one is nowhere to be seen. So what I did was I soldered the pin that was poking through, and for the other pin I checked, and I think the little part where it bent up, it was making contact with the hole here. So I just float solder all the way in just to make sure that there's some sort of hold onto the switch and the PCB, and I just crossed my fingers. So I've connected the battery back to the keyboard, and let's see if it turns on. Hopefully it does. Please turn on. Yes, it turns on. So VIA is open, and if I just click a key, you can see right here it's registering as V. If you take a look at the spacebar, I'm gonna press it before actually getting the click. You see it? It's not clicking, but it is registering, and all that before the tactile feedback. And then you get so the moment of truth. Does this switch work? Please work. Oh, it actually works. Holy shit. Even the LEDs are working with the switch. So here we have the keycap set that I've harvested from the Taptek. So uniform caps, everything fits on everything. It should be fine. Let's just do a little test. So this is the original blue switch, and this is the new tactile. So there you go. Now I know in the previous video I mentioned that the navy switches were actually my favorite. I have to use this in the studio, and I don't want to make too much noise, and the clicks from those keys would kind of be a hindrance. So I'm gonna see what I can do to make the whole keyboard work like this and not like this. Please, this is so bad. Yeah, so far so good. Let's see what we can do with this board, and thanks for watching. I hope you guys will keep up with this build. I'm still trying to figure this whole video thing out, and I don't have a camera, and this is my phone, and anyway, yes, any feedback, please leave it in the comments. Anything you would like to see, and I will see you guys next time.